you, ladies and gentlemen, gonna get the droids. It feels like I haven't seen you since last year. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's video where we have a yearly traditional video that we are knocking out. It's that time of year when Galaxy Heroes are snoozing, but let me tell you, we are cruising, and it doesn't really rhyme, but you know, we're cruising through our yearly traditional videos where today, we're gonna be talking about our wish list for new features, quality of life stuff, things I'm hoping to see in 2025 for Star Wars Galaxy Series. Now, don't get this twisted. This isn't a character wish list. We'll be doing that soon, don't you worry. Or my prediction list, I should say. But I want to see your thoughts down below, because as we're going to highlight from last year, there was actually a few things CG did from the last year's video. So either they're listening, or they could be in tune with us once in a while, or they're reading your comments. Leave your thoughts down below on what you want to see. And with that out of the way, let's get this show on the road. I'm on the road again. On the road again. On the road. So first things first, I'm the realist. We all know that by now. But what I want to do is start off with quickly summarizing what was added since last year's video. Now, I want to first show you guys. We have a very traditional. As you can see, this is tradition. Look at this. Death Star Raid 2022. We have Death Star Raid 2023. Death Star Raid 2024. So yes, we're going to continue the tradition of the Death Star Raid, which let me tell you, it didn't happen in any of those years, but it's going to be this year, right? Right? But when I was reviewing our video from last year, there was actually two things that they added from a quality of life perspective. Let me show you guys. Let's hop over to the game. First and foremost, one of our biggest requirements, or not requirements, our ask for last year was utilizing the shipments more. And lo and behold, that is something they did. They've been utilizing so much more, adding ships this year, for example, like the TIE Bomber, Anakin ETA Starfighter. Also, we've been getting lots of new characters added over here. We have Omega, for example. We've had, I believe, was a Grief Karga. Yeah, Grief Karga is in here as well. So they have been utilizing the shipments way more. And I guess if we want to take this even further, right at the end of the year, before we turn to 2025, they added all these new things. They added the ships for the blueprints. They've also added some other ships in there like TIE Advance, but you can get them in other ways like the Galactic War Store, light side currency. So big thumbs up on my side that we were able to get more shipments utilized, because way back when, CG said, no, we're not going to be using the shipments. And I'm glad that's something they changed their stance on. The other thing, since we're here, that they added since last year, addressing the capital ship grind. It is way too grindy, and they heard us. And guess what? Towards the end of the year, they added, for example, the Radis, the Finalizer, into the Shard Shop currency shipments. But even better, like, who even cares about that? Well, there's a small con to this, as we're going to talk about. But we now have the events permanently available in this guide. For the General's Command, we have Admiral's Maneuver. Where's the other ones? I don't know. There's other ones. Gary, pull up my free-to-play account. Where's the other ones in here? For the Executrix, for the Mace Windu's Endurance and whatnot. It's great that they finally listened to that as well, because capital ships were way too grindy. Now, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, unfortunately, because, well, first and foremost, these are permanently here, so it drives people crazy that these won't ever clear out their inventories. Hopefully, maybe they make a new tab for, like, rerunning events, maybe, a legacy event tab. We're going to talk more about that later on in this video, but I'm hoping maybe they add things like Profundity, the Executor, maybe Leviathan down the road, but now this turned it from a multi-year grind to a couple-week grind to go from your 4-star to 7 stars. So, you know what? Let's go. Let's clap it up. Come on. These are nice things they added. We got more stuff on the list. 10 things on the list here. And who knows? Maybe some of the stuff I'm going to say come to fruition, or maybe what you guys are going to share in the comments might come to fruition. And you know what? Let's start off with that beautiful Death Star Raid. Listen, as I said, tradition. We got to keep it going, people. First and foremost, Death Star Raid. Why isn't it here? How is it one of the most iconic things that made Star Wars popular? The Death Star Raid from A New Hope, and then they did it again a couple movies later, and then I guess they technically did it again with the Star Killer base. It's apparently a theme that hits home for a lot of people here. How is that not in Star Wars Galaxy? Luckily, we have the Death Star as a kind of a mini playable thing for the Executor, but the fact of the matter is not having a Death Star Raid in Star Wars blows my mind. We're going to talk about the raid system that we do have, but I just want to keep throwing this idea out there, because we're still waiting on Red 5. They could add like Red 5 units, maybe Commander Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, I don't know, as a reward. But what they could do is sort of like what Battlefront 2 did, the newer one, where you kind of had like a multi-staged event. You had the do a ship battle, then you infiltrate the Death Star so you could start integrating some ground units in there, and then there was like an exfilling process as well, then you blow up the Death Star. So a multi-phase raid. Will it ever happen? I don't know. As time goes on, I'm getting less optimistic about it because it seems like they just like these single tier auto for 30-minute type of raids. But again, Death Star raid has to be on the list. We're going to talk more about the current raid system and the ways to improve it, hopefully moving forward. But let's now talk about the biggest thing I think we're going to see this year. Prediction, guesstimation. I think we're going to see some sort of PvP overhaul, new PvP type of game mode. Now, take it as you will. I know some people love Territory Wars. I think Territory Wars could be a really fun game mode. The biggest problem for Territory Wars, we actually have one running right now. The biggest issue is it has not evolved in really any major way since the dawn of time. Heck, they couldn't even change out the freaking map. It's Jakku! Since, what was it, 2017, whenever this game mode came out. I think we need to see a Territory War overhaul to some capacity. I think there's a lot of issues coming to Territory War, especially the guild management aspect. This, I think, for me, is the biggest thing. You know, again, I like the base level of Territory Wars, but I feel like it's way too simple. And it's also the fact that it's simple. It still requires so much time coordinating with people all around the globe because you got to get like 50 people in each sector that you're taking out. And well, let me tell you, if there's someone on the other side of the planet, they're likely snoozing while you're trying to knock down a wall. So I think there's a lot of quality of life things that Territory War guild leaders need. But just the concept of the game mode in general needs some sort of update, whether it's maybe mimicking more of Grand Arena where you have like these tiers and brackets, so something that kind of visually excites you as you move on, maybe some better exclusive reward potentially. I'm hoping at the very minimum some new game mode where they're gonna I've been pitching this idea for a while. Let me show it to you guys. I would love to see some sort of galactic conquest type of mode to kind of replace Territory Wars. Something that, if you haven't played the old school Battlefront 2, oh man, pick it up right now. Please do yourself a favor if you haven't engaged in one of the greatest, if not the best Star Wars game of all time. But it incorporated so many things. You have a battle map that's a lot more strategic than this, you know, this 2-year-old, you know, map that you got going on. There's something that requires you to really get into the mind of a battle commander, where you have all these different planets, each side, let's just say each side, and they already kind of have that, right? In territory battles, we kind of already have a planetary map disbursement. Maybe they can copy and paste, but you know, you pick your base, which could be the farthest planet on each side for each player. Each team starts off with equal amount of planets, and I'm just going to throw out wild ideas. Imagine it's like a week-long territory war. I know that right there, you're probably like, Arnold, shut the hell up. But, you know, just throwing ideas out there where over the course of the week, at the end of it all, whoever captures the most planets wins. And you can, for example, fortify planets where you can maybe put some ships that defend the planets before the enemy can infiltrate the planet with the ground battle. They got to get through the ship aspect, the blockade. Or you can block highways, interstate highways between galaxy or between planets, so you maybe can intercept the opposing guild trying to get into a particular zone. I think from a battle planning aspect, that sounds like a lot more fun. And plus, it truly rewards you for all the different units that you have. And we already kind of have this in territory battles, but each planet sort of has some sort of special modifiers in it. So I think that it'd be kind of cool to integrate all that. I think it's more interesting than Territory Wars, but it's sort of, I guess that could be like a PvP, PEVBP, I don't know, game mode that they could integrate. Anyways, some sort of Territory War rework, a galactic conquest, if you will, for people to engage. And I feel like Territory Wars is a stale game mode. Grand Arena, it's cracking. They kind of really destroyed between Grand Arena squishes as well as what else, Gary? What, you want to get the list going on? Datacron? I feel like they're kind of killing the magic that made Grand Arena special. A new PvP game mode could be sick. Let's keep moving on. I know we talked a lot about that one. This is kind of a repeat from last year, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. I mean, I guess they're kind of addressing it through Lightspeed bundles. See, money solves everything. But I would love to see ship shards get accelerated, 2x ship drops, and you know, again, we could play devil's advocate why they don't 2x units out there, because we don't get nearly as many ships. We got 24 new units last year for characters and only 2 new ships. So obviously, when you just look at that ratio, there's not a lot of ships to really catch up on. So maybe that's why they're not doing the 2x ship drops. I would still like to see that for older ships. Now, of course, they're making things easier with Lightspeed bundles, and we just showed that, for example, Imperial TIE Bomber, which was kind of a more difficult unit, became a lot easier. So maybe if they keep adding ships, older ships to shipments, that would be a big deal to kind of speed up the thing, the process of getting ships. It's not a fun process. But if they can make it a little bit bearable by 2xing things, or they can hit the shipments, I think we might be in business here. Next up, oh man, this is the one that I don't think is ever going to happen. and that is Sandbox Mode or some inter-guild Sandbox Mode. So Sandbox Mode, what I mean by this, and I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's going to happen, and CG has kind of already said it's probably not going to happen, but you know, things change. Just like they said they weren't going to add shipments. Who knows? Maybe they changed their mind. But what I mean by a Sandbox Mode is a game mode where you can kind of replace Squad Arena. Squad Arena needs to go, or at the very minimum, Squad Arena. This is, even though it's a top 10 list, it's probably going to be 50 things I'm saying in this video. They got to get rid of Squad Arena or replace it with something, or they got to get rid of the crystal refreshes at the very minimum. But what I would love to see is some sort of game mode that's not when territories or grandeur is not going on. It gives you a game mode to test out your characters. You can theory craft a lot more, because I feel like the game mode, the contents that I enjoyed the most of this game, we play the least. We played the least amount of Grand Arena. Territory Wars also is the least amount. But every day I feel like I'm simming the Naboo raid. I'm playing Territories. I'm playing Conquest. I really want to be able to play the stuff I enjoy the most, and that is the PvP element. So a way to test out your characters, whether it's a new Omicron, a new Zeta, or a new character that you want to test around. Basically what we do for our live stream testing. I would just love to be able to test out a character if I wanted to play it for 12 hours straight, or at the very minimum some sort of inter-guild Sandbox film. Now Marvel Strike Force has something like this. When there's not a territory war going on, you can basically test with your guild. So if there's like a new character, let's say Galactic Legend of Ahsoka, she's got some territory Omicrons on her team. You put it on defense, and your guild kind of works together to see how good it is, you know, maybe discover some counters. So again, kind of encourages guilds to work together more. And again, it also gives you a way to just play with your characters a little bit more often. So a way to, at least at the minimum, I think that would be nice. Again, it makes things easier for the guilds, you know, practice their counters. But I think the reason why we're not going to see it is because CG wants to develop content that works inside of these games, especially for mobile games. Core loop. They want you playing game modes that give you some sort of reward, crystal structure, whatever it might be, that then continues your journey in upgrading characters, acquiring characters. Whereas a Sandbox Mode, there's likely going to be no rewards associated with it, and well, they don't like doing stuff like that. If they're going to make a content, they want it to be a core loop, and what happens in a core loop, you can monetize something. So I don't know if they could monetize something with the Sandbox Inter-Guild. Sandbox Mode, it's just more of a nice gesture to players, I would think. But that's just a quick little tidbit on why I don't think it's gonna happen. But I would love for it to happen. Being able to play with my friends, like maybe even invite someone to play. But maybe talk a bit more about that here. Just at the minimum, playing with a friend would be a big deal. And you know, let's actually talk about playing with friends. This is something I think that's missing in this game. We don't really have a way to really play with our friends. Yeah, we're playing the same territory wars. Yeah, we're doing the same raid, but we're not really playing together as, like, you know, together simultaneously. Now, I think the biggest problem is that requires some sort of live element, and this game really has zero live element to it. This is all about indirect, what's the right word? Asynchronous PvP combat, where it's PvP, but it's not really happening in real time, you know, it's kind of like that. What I would love to see is a way for you and another player, you kind of get into a lobby, and you listen, CG can figure this out, but basically maybe take on some bosses working together with other players in a real-time scenario. I don't know. I'm imagining, for example, you and a player, you got to fight Darth Vader together. I don't know. Again, ways for people to play with one another. Because I get this question all the time. Hey, is there a way I can play with my friend? And unfortunately, the answer is no, you can't. So maybe they could do something about that. And then the other thing that we have here, next on my list, another thing I don't know is going to happen. And you know what? I'm not going to fault CG 100% if they don't do this. Live PvP. So this kind of, all these are somewhat sort of related to each other, from Sandbox Mode to co-op mode, but live PvP arena. I'll tell you my reservations for this. Let me start off with this. I've always been a big advocate for the longest time for a live PvP element. So think of Squad Arena, but you have two players in simultaneously, and you each are taking turns fighting each other. You're not fighting some AI or whatever, or pre-programmed abilities on the enemy team. You're playing against them in real time. So you take a turn, and then the other team has, other players 10 seconds to take a turn, and back and forth it goes, right? In theory, it sounds cool, but I see Marvel Strike Force, and I've been playing a ton of Raid Shadow Legends in 2024, and they both have live PvP elements. And from what I can gather, both of those communities do not find live PvP interesting. Isn't that quite funny? We've been begging for something like that here, but I haven't seen it been done successfully in the other games. And I'll be honest, if Raid Shadow Legends and Marvel Strike Force can't figure out how to make live PvP a much more enjoyable experience, I don't know if CG wants to be the one to step up to the plate to figure out. But if there's a way to make live PvP where it's fun, I think the problem is when you turn it into a daily chore, it's a lot longer of a match than just say Squad Arena where you hit auto, you're done in a minute and a half. I think that's the biggest challenge, is figure out how it doesn't get too monotonous, doesn't become too time consuming. But again, it'd be fun if you just do it casually, where you meet up with a player. You can like maybe ban certain characters on a team, so it kind of forces you to do some creative lineups. Again, Marvel Strike Force has something like that too. But man, even Raid Shadow Legends, they have that too, where once you put the team together, they can ban a character. You got to repick them. So it sounds fun. How do you make it where the players can actually enjoy it and not feel like it's monotonous, it's just a time drain? But I'm just putting it out there. If there's a way that CG can figure it out, man, that'd be awesome. But so far, and like when you think of the big three hero collectors in our neck of the woods, Raid, Marvel Strike Force, Galaxy of Heroes, so far it seems like we're 0 for 2 for live PvP and those other communities out there. Next up, let's talk about the boogeyman in the room. We got the Naboo Raid. Dun, dun, dun. What's wrong with the Naboo Raid, people? Oh boy, where do we start? The biggest problem with the Naboo Raid, let's just be real. It's cool, like visually it's pleasing. It's probably some of the coolest, visual effects that we've seen for a raid in quite a minute here. But the biggest problem is it is a time drainer. It really is. 15 minutes per battle. Day one, we said that, this could be a problem in the long run. Yeah, it's cool to look at, but even autoing for 15, 20 minutes every single time for 5 battles each, that seems to be a problem. I'm going to keep it simple. I mean, yes, I would love to see Naboo Raid bring back exclusive characters. That was the thing that made raids so exciting. Getting Han Solo, getting General Kenobi, getting Dark Trade. They took one of the coolest things about the raid, and they don't get any of that now. So an exclusive character, of course, would be nice. But at the very minimum, if they're going to be doing more raids like Naboo, where they take a long time to do, there needs to be a simming option again. And what I mean by that is, let's say you do Naboo Raid, and the next raid, you can just sim your last score. And then same thing, you can keep simming the same score. And maybe at some point when you upgrade a team, you're like, you know what, I want to try to replay it. Let's see if I can get a new high score. And then let's say you get a new high score, you can then continue to sim the new high score moving forward. So I'm going to keep my territory battle feedback pretty simple. We are going to be getting a new raid soon. This one's going to be expiring. Well, it's still in the game, but there's going to be not a lot of incentive to play it anymore moving forward. Whether we're getting a new Peridia raid, it's the predominant theory. Who knows? We'll see in 2025 what the new raid's going to be. At the minimum, some simple simming mechanic that just lets you sim the previous score, so people don't have to rip their eyeballs if they get stuck behind like a droideka that keeps taking bonus turns and keeps deploying. Oh my gosh, or to keep buff dispelling. I don't want to bring out the nightmares in regards to this. Let's talk about some more quality of life stuff here. Oh boy, we're going to talk about the other scary thing, the D word, datacrons. Dun, dun, dun. Now you might be thinking Arnold's going to say, oh, he hates datacrons, delete him from the game. I'm not that naive. Datacrons aren't going anywhere, but if they are going to be here, if we could have some more quality of life stuff to filter through our datacrons, that would be nice. We already have some filtering when you're in battle, but there's like no way to filter any of the stuff that I have here. So at very minimum, I would like to see some sort of filtering. I have big overarching stuff that I would love to see change the datacrons, but I don't think it's going to happen. Again, my biggest problem with datacrons, first and foremost, they expire, so that's the biggest issue. It's not like mods. We can build up mods over years. You got a big inventory of mods. Okay, cool, whatever. I'm not going to complain too much about that. Or, the other issue that we have with it, one person can get one datacron. They're going to get the garbage datacron. The other person's going to get the good datacron, so the disparity. Funny enough, Raid Shadow Legends added their own datacron system, funny enough, as well. It's called Relics, but it's not like the Relics we have in this game. And their version of datacrons, they're permanently available in your inventory. They don't get deleted, and it's unfortunate these do. I guess there's pros and cons depending how you look at it. But anyways, just a way to simply filter, level up a little bit more efficiently would be nice. Those I think are the realistic quality of life stuff that I would see. Next up, people, here's what we got. We have 2 more things on my list that I want to break down with you guys. And this is something that we kind of have a solution, but I think we can have a better in-game solution. An in-game battle replayer. Now, best case scenario, it'd be great. Let's pull it up, Gary. For example, we know we have swh.gg, right? And it shows your battle log history from you and then what your opponents did up against your team. Goddamn, look at that. My Ahsoka Tano was killing it, apparently, last Grand Arena. But nonetheless, it'd be nice having a version of this in the game. Best case scenario, in game, you can actually replay and completely watch the entirety of the opponent's battle versus you. That would be sick. Other games like, I think it was Clash of Clans now. But I know, I think Star Wars Commander, right? Boy, that game got killed off a couple years ago. They had a replay feature, I think, where you can rewatch the enemy taking down your base. So number one, first and foremost, helps with integrity, competitive integrity with the game. I know we try not to address it too much, but there is a boogeyman out there. I think there are still cheats going on in the game. And we do have a way to kind of check it out through swh.gg. But again, even so, people can kind of, mask if they're cheating or not. And it's not a perfect system because what happens when you enter battle, you're disconnected from the server, and all that gets reported is the very end score, where, you know, they just say, oh, okay, this is how much health was left, this is how much time was left, and it gets sent to the server, and SWH.GG, they basically intercept that data and they put it on their website. So we already have a solution, but if we can be able to replay the battles, yes, it would help with competitive integrity, but furthermore, it would just kind of show you, maybe what the opposing team's using. And I'm going to say this, I know some people are going to hate this in the Territory War Gauntlet. They need to have Territory War battle logs. We have it for Grand Arena. Let's bring the territories first and foremost, competitive integrity, and number two, we can stop with the whole secret society stuff. I think as well. That might be one of the reasons why I'd like to play Territory Wars more, if I could actually show you guys more of it. It's always top secret, like, oh, we don't want to tell people about using Master Loop up against the Premier Arena. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Anyways, last thing I got here, wrapping us up here, a Legacy Vault. Now, this is something that's come up time and time again, and I'm going to give CG some credit. They've kind of done something like this. Not perfectly, but, sometimes throughout the year, they will bring back marquee events. So, like, for example, they brought back all the Ahsoka Tano marquees when Ahsoka Tano was right around the corner. I think they did the same thing at Banelin's Skull as well, if I recall. So sometimes they'll go ahead and bring back all these marquee events to play. But I would love to see a new tab, and I've been saying this for a while now, a new tab in the Journey Guide, Legacy Vault or something like that, where it has all the old marquees that a player can go in and play. Now, maybe it's not there because the game file size will be bigger. I can only speculate. But man, for example, if you came to the game late, I want to remind you guys, the Django event that we had for the marquee way back when, it had some amazing rewards for that marquee. So it'd be nice if players can go back, get the shards of characters that they're missing because they missed out on it, get some of the rewards that were associated with whether it's mods or whatnot. And some people might just want to replay it just for the nostalgia factor. Like, the Bad Batch events were kind of fun. We did a lot of funny stuff back then. So the fact is, new players can't go back and engage with it. I think it's a little unfortunate. Again, they're doing better. They're bringing back some of the marquee events periodically throughout the year. But a new tab of Legacy events, or maybe a new tab for the Fleet Master events for Finalizer, for Holdo's Radis, would be a great place of parking it. But people, that's going to be my top 10. It's probably more like top 50 quality of life features that I want to see in 2025. But you know what else I want to see? I want to see each and every one of you guys, whatever you got set out for this year in 2025, I want to see you dominate it. Take over this year. Own the year. This year in 2025, whether it's in Galaxy Heroes, your personal life, professional life, whatever is going on, I wish you the best in this year of 2025, and hopefully we see some good stuff coming for this game as well. Leave that like, comment down below, subscribe so you're not missing a thing, and always remember, until we meet again and start our journey in 2025, it's great to be in the Empire today.